Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and I'm just jumping on here for a quick live. I can't stay on long. My throat's still killing. It's so frustrating because there's so many things I want to talk to you about. But I needed to come on and tell you about this because I am definitely going to do some more water safety videos. You know, I've done a few water safety videos. I've got lots more in the pipeline. I just haven't had a chance to do them. And just some news that's coming out today, which is just awful. Another young life lost in a river. And the especially sort of, I don't know, poignant thing about is this is the River Wyre again, the same river that Nicola Bulley died in. Now, it's unclear, of course, the exact circumstances so far. What happens, oh, see my voice, I hope it'll just need it to hang out for about 10-15 minutes while I tell you about this. The about 4 miles upriver from where Nicola was sadly found deceased, this boy, for whatever reason, has entered into the River Wyre, and he unfortunately has had difficulty getting out the water and he has died. So let's have a look at the news. So it's so important. Again, I know I always ask this. Speak to not only your young people, you need to have this conversation. We all need to have this conversation about water safety. If you're near a place where you think that you're any of you might go, maybe you go wild water swimming, maybe you go to organized events. You know, these tragedies don't only happen when someone enters into the river sort of their own accord because it's a hot day. But of course, we've got summer coming up. There'll be the long summer holidays in wherever, whichever part of the world you're in, there's always water, isn't there? You know, so that's why water safety is so very important, because it can happen anywhere to anyone. But I think especially in rivers and things like that, because, you know, rivers are attractive places. People go and walk alongside them. Sometimes people don't mean to get in the river. I mean, we don't know the full circumstances of what happened to this boy. But let me just tell you about it. We'll go to the Metro, I think. I mean, it's in a lot of the northern newspapers, of course. I'm looking at the Metro here, but we'll have a look at a couple of them. So, yeah, teenage boy, a 15-year-old boy. I mean, do you know, it's just awful, isn't it? 15 years old, his whole life in front of him. And he died a few miles upstream from where Nicola Bulley drowned 2 years ago. A 15-year-old boy has died after getting into difficulty in a section of the River Wyre, which is said to be a popular diving spot amongst local youths. And Lancashire police were called around 2:30 p.m. on Saturday to the riverbank near Garstang Cricket Club. Now, I've got to say, I was hoping that I would never have to talk about this river again. I mean, it is a river that looks very peaceful. I feel like, you know, if you're one of my regular followers and you've been with me since the Nicola Bulley case, we've seen this river and feel like we know it inside out. I've actually been there to the scene of where Nicola disappeared, although it was pouring down with rain that day when I went. I don't think I got... I couldn't do as much as I would have liked to have done. But also, you know, one of my followers, remember, went there and sent us back videos, etc. I mean, you know, as I say, we've talked so much about this case and about this river. Remember, Peter Folding showing videos saying how quiet it was. He was convinced she wasn't in the river, etc., etc. And now, you know, a popular diving spot amongst local youths. Now, to me, if somewhere is a popular diving spot amongst local youths, regularly people should be going down there, you know, the police or the community officers, to explain to them the dangers. Anyway, they were called around, so sorry about my voice. They were called around 2:30, and officers found the boy being given CPR by members of the public. He was airlifted to hospital in a critical condition, but died on Sunday. Now, we don't know, is this a case maybe of secondary drowning? Do you remember when Phil from Beneath the Surface was on and he explained to us that even sometimes when someone's rescued, they can later get this secondary drowning. That's another danger. And that's possibly what happened to this boy, but we don't know. Anyway, a witness said he saw a police officer interviewing a tearful young girl amongst a group of backpackers after the area was cordoned off. And retired journalist Nick Hill told the BBC the incident happened in a small area of invitingly calm water behind a floodgate with several danger warnings around it. So there were danger warnings. And, they still went in there. And he said he had previously seen young boys leaping in from a high vantage point, despite the obvious hazard. And if there were girls there as well, you can be sure these boys were probably showing off a little bit, maybe in front of the girls. This is what young people do. So again, I know a lot of my followers out there, they've got teenagers who might end up in this position. And I know they've already had the conversation maybe, but we need to drum it in, don't we? Drum it into these young people not to do this. And official flood monitoring data suggests that the water may have been unusually shallow at the time. And we know from what Phil told us and what Rebecca has told us, Rebecca Ramsey, when she's come on to talk, just because the water looks shallow and looks peaceful, you don't know what's lurking underneath. You can catch your foot on something that might be there. There could be anything. You can get tangled in weeds. You can get cold water shock, even though it seems like a hot day, because the water takes time to sort of warm up. So generally, water in the UK in particular is generally pretty freezing, even when it's a warm day. Riley. So at the nearest monitoring station, a few hundred meters away, the Wyre has been at its lowest point of its normal range of depth for at least a week. And then they go on to say that the incident happened around 4 miles upstream from St. Michael's on Wyre. So this is Garstang that this has happened. So it's a few miles away, but it's the same river. So then it talks about Nicola, about the subsequent inquest, which rules she accidentally fell in the water. Possibly, as we know, there was no real, it should have been an open verdict, possibly suffering cold water shock, which caused her to inhale water and drown in seconds, which may have happened, of course. May have happened, but nothing has been proven, of course. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. Our thoughts in this case, of course. So now the Lancashire police are at the stage where they're asking for information. And they said, our thoughts are with his family and loved ones at this incredibly distressing time. And I always think of Rebecca I saw this on her Facebook page. I always think of Rebecca because I expect these kind of things must bring up some sort of PTSD. It's like going through it all again, seeing that it's still happening. It's just must be awful. So we're going to, what else I've got two other, let's see. We've got the Lancashire Live. We're going to look at it. Be more or less the same story, imagine. I'll just come in and say hello if anybody is in the chat. Hi, David. Yes, exactly. As the weather warms up, so do the tragedies. Now, we've had some good news in Spain about water safety. Apparently, there's just been a law passed that any swimming pool in Spain, even if it's a community pool, they have to have a lifeguard. Hi, Heather. There has to be a lifeguard. Now, that wasn't the case before. You know, there's always a lifeguard at my local pool, the municipal pool. But you know, in Spain, a lot of people live in these communities. So you've got like a complex of houses with a pool in the centre. Well, there's a law being passed now. Whether people will enforce that law or not, you know, that's a whole nother thing. So all the communities will be having you know, meetings about it, and it means that they may have to pay a few more community charges to pay for this lifeguard. But you know, the peace of mind, of course, you know, really, that's what Rebecca says, isn't it? No lifeguard, no swimming, as far as she's concerned. And of course, there are lots of deaths in Spain in swimming pools, private swimming pools. I don't know what you can do about private swimming pools. I mean, you're not going to have a lifeguard in your garden, are you? You know, so I don't know what the answer is there. Just never leave your teenagers unsupervised, and maybe even especially teenagers, because you think they can be unsupervised, but of course they take risks. I know someone who wasn't even a teenager, who was a grown man, dove into the pool at the wrong end, you know, because alcohol comes into these kind of things as well, and had to be taken to hospital because he just smacked his head on the bottom of the pool, you know, and he had to be taken to hospital. He was fine as it happened. Well, he had a cracked, you know, he had a big bump on his head, let's say, you know, and I think he may have had to have stitches. But, you know, when alcohol and water are combined, that's even more dangerous, isn't it? You know, people showing off, like maybe these boys were showing off a bit, if there were girls there as well, if it was a group of them. You know, we don't know the circumstances. I'm just talking about some scenarios that are just facts of life, aren't they? And you know, I've been to many pool parties here in Spain that when I think about it now, I go cold, because there's so much going on and people are jumping in, people and adults who should know better, pushing each other into the pool. I hate anything like that. I would hate to be pushed into a pool. I like pools, obviously, but I don't like going in them when there's a lot of people either, whether it's at my friend's pool or any pool. You know, pushing someone into a pool is really a responsible thing for a grown adult to do, especially when that person has had too much to drink. So one of my friends literally missed the edge of the pool by that much, a centimetre. Having been pushed in, fell in, literally her head missed the edge of the pool by a centimetre. She was lucky. So, you know, there's a lot of things that could happen. And yeah, as it's coming into the summer, wherever you live, people are more likely, aren't they, to go into water. So yeah, apparently he was airlifted to hospital in a critical condition, bless him, and he died on Sunday. And this happened at the River Wyre near Garstang Cricket Club. So this is terrible news, isn't it? I mean, there's, you know, there's a family out there that are absolutely devastated. You know, and these are avoidable deaths. These are not unavoidable accidents. Do you know, sometimes things happen that you feel are unavoidable. These accidents, they're avoidable, you know, with a bit of education maybe. Just don't know, you know, how you reach young people enough to convince them just not even go there, you know, even if the water seems calm, even if it looks clear and you think you can see the bottom. So yeah, apparently CPR he was given by members of the public, and I mean, you know, my heart goes out to them, because that's a trauma for them, isn't it, to try and save this boy and not been able to, you know, and the trauma of just the whole situation for everyone involved be horrible. So this apparently happened just after 2:30 p.m. on Saturday, May the 17th at the River Wyre. And Lancashire Constabulary said that the boy, who has not been identified, was airlifted to hospital in a critical condition, and despite the best efforts of medical personnel, he tragically died on Sunday. Now, and the medical personnel as well, you know, there's so much trauma involved in something like this to so many people. You know, not only, you know, obviously the family, that's the main thing, but I think everybody who's ever involved, we saw on a video, if you watched the video that we watched that was about Rebecca's son Dylan, the police officer was extremely distraught, that tried to save his life and didn't, unfortunately couldn't. So, you know, so much trauma, you know, so very sad. And as Phil from Beneath the Surface said, like his aim, if you like, or what he would like, is to never be needed. You know, he's somebody who goes out and helps search for recover bodies of people, you know, who have gone missing in water, etc. But what he wants is to never be needed. You know, he just wants it never, you know, Rebecca is doing her best with her water safety campaigns. We can only do our best, really. I doubt if we'll ever manage to stop it completely. But it just shows how important it is. You know, the government should be doing something as well, because these deaths are so common. You know, they're taking away people's lives. It's important. You know, it's as important as anything else. You know, that they make laws where you've got to wear a seatbelt and you've got to do this and you've got to do that. But, you know, they don't seem to bother much with water safety. So in a statement, a Force spokesman said, "We were called to the River Wyre close to Garstang Cricket Club at 2:33 on Saturday following reports a male had got into difficulty in the water. Our officers quickly attended and found that a teenage boy was being given CPR by members of the public on the riverbank, and he was airlifted to hospital." Now, if you've got any information, you can call 101 and the log number is 834. You know, I have a lot of followers I know from that area, from Lancashire, if anybody knows anything. And the last newspaper that we're going to just have a look at, it'll be the same thing. Now, this is the Gazette, the Blackpool Gazette, which is especially interesting because, of course, the new crime commissioner, it's not Andrew Snowden anymore, thank God. It's this gentleman who was the previous crime commissioner. Just have a look at him talking, see how different he is. See if I can, how different he is. So it's very quiet, that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Just wanted to show you this guy. He was the police, the police commissioner, crime commissioner. What do they call it? Before Andrew Snowden, and then Andrew Snowden got voted in the Boris Johnson landslide that all sort of fell apart. And this guy lost his job, and Andrew Snowden. And you remember what Andrew Snowden was like? You know, sharing all his food and his wine and his this, that, and the other, and everything on his, you know, just totally oblivious to the fact of any sort of gravitas in his role, or, you know, just having a great time on his social media as if he wasn't in that important position. This guy is completely different. I follow him on X. He rarely posts, and if he does, it's just something to do with work. I have no idea what he eats and drinks at the weekend, which I knew all the time what Andrew was up to. So yeah, Wyre Council spokesperson said, "We're deeply saddened by the tragic loss, and our heartfelt condolences go out to the young man's family, friends, and all those affected." And while Wyre Council, I think the councils have to take some responsibility, don't they? Says we're committed to promoting water safety, raising awareness, but the responsibility for issuing specific warnings and monitoring river conditions lies with the Environment Agency, who work to help keep communities safe around waterways. Well, they're not really doing a very good job, are they? So, doesn't matter whose responsibility it is. Anyway, a Garstang resident who walked near the scene shortly after the incident said the area close to where it happened is always popular with youngsters in the summer. It has become a summer ritual for teenagers to gather on the bridge and do daredevil jumps into the water below. However, there's no evidence at this stage that that's what happened. When I walked past an hour or so later, there was a gaggle of mid-teens youngsters looking shaken and talking to police officers. The Riverside area at summertime has become a mecca for local and out-of-town youngsters. Out-of-town youngsters as well. So a spokesperson for the Environment Agency said, "We're very sorry to hear about this tragic incident, but because it has not involved an asset we are responsible for and is not flooding related, it would not be one we would comment on." See how they're passing the buck, all of them. So the council has said it's the Environment Agency's responsibility. The Environment Agency is saying, no, it's nothing to do with us because it doesn't involve flooding. According to the River Levels UK website, typical recent level of the River Wyre at Garstang over the past 12 months has been between 0.17 metres and 2.29 metres, and the highest level ever recorded was 4.24 metres, reached in December 2015. And again, just saying, if you've got any information about it, to contact the police. Now, see if I can. I'd like to see this video of this guy, but that's so quiet, isn't it? Oh, yeah, maybe I can get more on it here. Oh, he says they're better now than they were for the last few years. Andrew Snowden was always saying how brilliant it was, all the funding that it got. Well, of course, this guy's a Labour councillor, so maybe he's in a better position to lobby for money. I don't know, now that there's a Labour government. I don't really know how it all works. I can't remember this guy's name, unfortunately. Though that's probably a good thing because, oh, sorry, I'm not sharing. This guy is not all swagger, like Andrew was. Let's have a, what's his name? I don't know. What, anybody know his name? There might be somebody out there.
12 months now since being re-elected, absolute privilege to be back in the role. When I was first Police and Crime Commissioner, it was a difficult challenge, a challenge that was where we was inhibited by austerity, the cuts to policing, and not really able to deliver the service in.
I think you can get the message. He couldn't be much further away, could he, from Andrew Snowden? Seems much more humble, much more, you know. And you know what? That's, you don't want a show. To me, I mean, Andrew Snowden always looked like he was high as a kite on something anyway. And he was, you know, it was more about what he was having for tea, wasn't it? And the nice red wine he was having with it. While everybody was suffering the cost of living crisis, he was chucking it all in everybody's face. So somebody with a bit more gravitas, I hope he's, you know, I don't live in that area, but my family live in that area. All my family live in Lancashire. So, you know, it does affect me in that way, and hoping that they are okay. And that they're getting looked after. But yeah, I don't know what his name is. Let's see if anybody's put his name. Let's just go. I don't think it is. Hi Darren. Hi Angel. Hi Admit. Hi Julie. ACW. I don't think it is Mark Winstanley, but I'm going to check. Let's have a little check. It might be. You could be right. I don't know. Is the answer. But yeah, you can tell he's, you know, he's a whole different proposition. Clive Grunshaw. So he's got a nice typical northern name as well. He was elected in May 2024. So Andrew Snowden, he just got that one, you know, he was voted out immediately, wasn't he? That was a big mistake, ever voting him in. Let's have a look. Yeah, here he is, Clive Grunshaw. He's so much more low-key. Do you know what I mean? You know, there was Andrew, like, so look, the salary is 88,000, which is a good salary, of course. But, you know, Andrew Snowden was pushing that in everyone's face. And then didn't he do a fundraiser for a refurbishment on his kitchen or something? You know, he was just a pig in the trough. He really was, Andrew Snowden. Now, of course, he's an MP for Fylde. So he'd be another pig in the trough. And I still think he may end up being Prime Minister one day. Hopefully not, but, you know, unless some scandal comes out about him. Let's have a look at Clive again. Yeah, he just, you know, and Andrew Snowden was, do you remember him with the dog, with the police dog, and the police dog nearly took his arm off. But yeah, no, the thing is, Andrew Snowden, he was amusing, but you shouldn't be amusing when you're the bloody crime commissioner. It's a serious job, and this is, you know, I didn't like all this cult of personality in politics. You know, I know a lot of people don't like Keir Starmer because they moan that he's boring. I like boring. He's a prime minister. He's not a comedian. You know, same with this guy. Got a serious job. You should be a serious person. So anyway, so someone somewhere needs to get their act together there in Lancashire. That's very sad that's happened, especially because, you know, that's a river that's seen tragedy before. I mean, what does it take? What does it take before they do something, I wonder? You know, what do they do? You know, what does it take before something's actually done? You know, because they said that Nicola Bulley fell in accidentally and drowned. So what have they done to improve the safety on that river since then? Absolutely nothing. You know, so they're talking about a place where apparently young boys or young people always congregate there when the weather's nice to jump in off a bridge. Who's monitoring that? Who's stopping that happening? You know, a thing is, if a you know, gaggles of teenagers hang around certain parts, and jump in the river, then it needs to be monitored in some way, so that it can be, these things can be stopped. It just makes you wonder, these, what is the answer? I mean, I think it would be impossible, obviously, to eradicate accidents completely, I would imagine, but, just where's the effort? Now, apparently there are, according to what it was saying in those newspaper reports, there are warning signs around, but, warning signs not enough, is it? Not for young people who think they're invincible. They wouldn't think anything could happen to them, would they? Anyway, sorry, I'm going now because I shouldn't really have come on at all, because as you can probably hear, my throat's still bad, and I've had quite a lot of classes today, and I did a live this morning, so I've been trying to rest my voice tonight. But when I saw this, I thought it's especially sort of means something to us, doesn't it? Because of following the Nicola Bulley case, that same river, it's like. And then, of course, because of having Phil and Rebecca on the show and, telling us about water safety. But I've got so much more to say about water safety, and I'm sure they have as well. It's just, not enough hours in the day, not enough days in the week. But it is so important, and it's especially important now, isn't it, coming up to the summer? But, yeah. Angel, I'm obsessed with that story at the moment. And I want to do a video on that. But again, it's just my voice. I'm trying to get my voice, sorted. But yeah, that's, there's so much, there's always something going on, isn't there? But, just wish somehow, could reach out to these young people. So, I mean, those young people, they're not probably going to do it again, are they? The ones that were there with him, because maybe they'll be able to go out and talk to other young people. Because sometimes young people only listen to young people, don't they? They'll listen to me waffling on that old grandma telling us this, she's never been young. She's never done this, never done that. I've done many things that were dangerous when I was young. So sometimes to get to young people, you need other young people to do it. They listen to their peers, don't they? They do listen to their peers. Okay, I'm off. I may see you later, may see you at some point. See how my voice goes. I'm just going to go and rest my voice. Okay, thank you. And may your God go with you. And remember, talk to everyone you can about water safety. Thank you.